Hey everyone. So I haven't made a video in a while. I wanted to take a just a moment, a couple of minutes, and and address a couple of things that a lot of people have emailed me recently and asked about. As you may know, or in case you don't know, I run I would call it a global marketing company now. Actually, we've been helping clients in Malaysia, in Russia, Germany, um, Portugal, Lisbon, India, Malaysia, and as far as even Australia, we've held a global distributor of high end furniture and home decor pieces out of Australia before. So I would call ourselves a global marketing company, but we are what I like to call internally a hybrid agency. And as a hybrid agency, we do a little bit of everything from strategy to consulting. I work directly with clients on a consultancy basis. If you have any questions, if you're not sure how to address or tackle a hurdle in your new product, you want to figure out what are the best ways to go to market or rebrand or pivot your positioning, you could come to me, for example, and I will work by your side to stake a market in any particular industry. At the same time, my team is capable of doing any programming, computer software, developing or designing apps, as well as creating and designing funnels for small businesses and large companies as well for their marketing campaigns. So, I mean, yeah, we are what I like to call a hybrid agency. Now, today, I wanted to address a couple of issues, and the first one is, I guess most of it is addressing entrepreneurs. There is this misconception that just because you start a business, that you think that you are a fucking entrepreneur, and the reality is that it's not. A small business owner, just because you open a restaurant, doesn't make you an entrepreneur. If you buy a franchise, doesn't make you an entrepreneur. If you own a couple of Burger King franchises or McDonald's franchises, it doesn't make you an entrepreneur. If you're a fucking realtor or a real estate agent or a flipper, it doesn't make you an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur in its purest form is somebody that comes up with an idea, is somebody innovative, that is so forward thinking that the product, the outcome of their ideas is not currently being offered or served in that manner in the market anywhere. So as an entrepreneur, you're facing uncertainty in every imaginable aspect, right? You don't know if there's a demand for it. You don't know if who the customer is. You can't just go and buy a service, a franchise off of somebody. You can't just quickly buy a business model template and apply it to yours, because it doesn't exist, right? It's a completely new inventive idea, and typically that's what an entrepreneur has been called. Now lately, it's become a little more of a jargon, and every asshole out there wants to call themselves an entrepreneur because they think it sounds cool. Same thing with me with marketing. I deal a lot to where you, and I'm sure if are a marketing expert, a professional in the field, you may have come across a lot of people that call themselves SEO experts or marketing strategists or SEO strategists. But then at the end of the day, if you run an analysis even on their own websites, on their own assets or their clients, or you look them up on LinkedIn, you'll see that that this motherfuckers just took 1 month of training and now they're calling themselves web designers. So that they took a 30-day course on programming, they barely kind of learned it to script, buy, and design a website, and now they're calling themselves full stack designers, full stack engineers, full stack programmers, and are selling crap, making everybody else look bad. Entrepreneurship has come along in the same path. Entrepreneur itself has become a jargon word. But if you are a true entrepreneur trying to stake a market, trying to come up with an idea, or you have an idea, you just don't know how to get to the market, you see all these opportunities everywhere. You read case studies, you read interviews, and you see how many different people got to where they are, how they became successful, how this company growth hacked this, how this other company growth hacked that. But then at the end of the day, you have so much information, so many opportunities that you don't really know where to start, right? So I wanted to make this video to address that. If you are a business owner or if you are an entrepreneur who is definitely facing a lot of uncertainty, I wanted to create a video to help you get started. And just from my experience, what a lot of it comes down to is ego. Not knowing what to do comes from ego, because you want to do what makes you look good. You want to do what makes you think is part of your brand. You want to embody yourself into the company and the brand, and vice versa, so that you are your product, you are your company, and the company is you, versus realizing that you're creating something completely separate. And a lot of the times, whether you're testing a completely new idea or not, it's not about how you force and shove your product down, just really shove it down your customers' throats. It's more about understanding who they are, where they are, what stage in their life they're in, what stage in their buying cycle they're in. There's the awareness, there's the consideration, the decision, right? And so, depending on where this prospect customers are in their buying cycle, you need to address each one of them separately and differently. So if you have a product, sometimes you don't really have to pivot, you don't have to reposition, you don't have to add more features, you don't have to add more jargon to your sales pitch. You may have to just change it in a way that it addresses that particular demographic, that age group, that personality, that lifestyle, and answer their problems, answer their questions within that buying cycle. You're not going to pitch and try to sell the first time you meet somebody. You want to build a little bit of rapport. So there's that mentality with that. When it comes to ego, though, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs out there that go in and do their own market research, they're not necessarily asking the right questions. So if you're not asking the right questions, obviously you're kind of just asking whatever makes you look good, whatever makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really help you. As a marketing agent, I get to deal with this a lot, to where you get entrepreneurs, inventors, founders that create a company, and they might get some initial traction, but then at the end of maybe a year, a couple of months, they see absolutely no growth in their chart, and their bottom line looks the same. Maybe they're at a loss. They're in a constant downflow. So a lot of that is because they try to continue to force sales or products that are not being requested by the customer. And when they do some market research, there's questionnaires, some feedback, maybe some Yelp reviews, you're interpreting and you're finding some points of argument so that you can defend your approach, instead of listening to it, instead of asking product questions as if they are product questions, not as an insult to yourself. Don't be asking as if whatever question or answer you may get from your questions are an attack to you. This is very, very common. I've seen it a lot, actually, on startup weekends. So get rid of that ego. Ask the right questions. Make sure that whatever people said, you don't find rebuttals to them. You take note, you figure it out, and you measure those consistencies in those responses, so that if you get the same response over and over and over again, you know that they're probably onto something and you're not. So you should probably make some changes accordingly. Social media is a big one. When you're starting, you may come across a lot of articles, a lot of topics that tell you how somebody got to be successful. Well, let me tell you something. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and it took me almost 10 years to get to where I'm at. There's been a lot of learning. There's been a lot of changes. There has been a lot of changes. I've had a lot of moments of self-doubt. I've had a lot of moments where I just try to follow the flow and do what other people have done, and I have failed miserably. And I have learned that it's because I'm not everybody else. I am myself. My circumstances are different. My situation and my resources are different. So that means that for you, most likely your situation, your resources, they're unique to you right now. So you may be able to take some ideas, some approach, what work for somebody else, but at the end of the day, you have to adopt it to you and what you can do right now. And when it comes to strategy, you have to realize that it's about decisions and commitment. You have to sacrifice one thing in order to achieve something else and remain focused on that something else. And I think that is the biggest lesson that anybody could ever teach me and that it took me almost 10 years to learn, because I didn't know how to make decisions for a long time. I tried to pursue every single opportunity I saw for self-promotion, for content, for marketing, to try to get more sales, and at the end of the day I got bit in the ass and achieved literally zero growth. So if you're starting out, consider that yes, there may be a lot of opportunity out there for other people. There may be some system. There may be some systems in place that have helped others, but they don't necessarily mean will help you. So don't waste your time trying to pursue every single opportunity out there. On social media, don't use it like everybody else. Social media is not a business model. I just recently had an issue with a client, an ex-client whom I've had to fire for the reason that this client kept on thinking that her social media was her business model. She runs a service-based business, and as a service-based business, reviews, community outreach, social media is very important, but social media in itself is not a long-term strategy. When you for those of you that are constantly posting on Facebook, constantly posting on Instagram, constantly posting on Twitter, think about this. Even HubSpot users, think about this a lot. SEO is very important, and the reason why HubSpot has us do a lot of SEO is because when we post on Facebook, when we post on any social media channel, it just serves that for that moment. It doesn't provide any value for the future. Most of the social links are no follow, which means they don't provide any SEO value at all. They just provide us a method to share our thoughts or articles or content that moment, but we will have to still do it again tomorrow, right? Unless somehow you create something viral to where it just kind of takes a life on its own, but that can't really be planned for. So, and it rarely happens considering the amount of content that is published out there. So it's best to not assume you'll be creating viral content. With that said, when it comes to social media, don't think social media as your marketing campaign. Think of it as a tool that you use to distribute content that you create for your startup, for your product, and every single platform needs to be addressed differently. You're not going to create content the same way you create it on Facebook for Twitter. Everything is different. Every approach is different. And depending on your situation, depending on your community, depending on your network, social networking may not necessarily be online social networking. You have to realize that the very nature of social networking is people. So whether you create content online or whether you go out and meet people on LinkedIn or through meetup groups, you have to create the content. You have to approach yourself, your brand, your service as if you're meeting somebody in person. So when it comes to social media and then when it comes to social networking, you may be in the very particular situation where meeting people in person is going to do you more good than spending so much time on Facebook, spending so much time on Twitter. Back in the day, you have all these successful companies that started when social media wasn't even a thing, when internet wasn't even around. So the way that they did social networking is by meeting each other, by doing business networking events, business breakfast networking events. So do what you gotta do. You may be in a city where that may just be the case, and if that's the case, you have to do what you have to do to get yourself across and in front of people. Same thing when you're meeting people in person. Forget about your ego. It's about them. Don't pitch them. Wait. As long as you have to wait, just introduce yourself. Build some really, really good rapport with them. Consistency is key, so that eventually they will come to you. They will ask you, what do you do? They'll ask you what's going on with you, or what do you have to offer? How can you help me, etc., etc. And bam, you're selling them without actually ever pitching them. So think of social media as how would you approach somebody in person. And if you are in a small town, if your service is a commodity such as haircuts, landscaping, pest control, janitorial, maybe you run a retail store, maybe you sell even healthcare supplements, again, think of it, you'll probably be more benefiting from in-person networking events. If you are building a startup, if you have a product, if you have a service, eliminate the fluff. So the simpler your product is, the simpler it is to pitch, the more time it will save you. And I guess yeah. The last thing I wanted to say was, there is I'm calling it the one time fallacy. I'm not really sure if there's a name for it, but I've noticed a lot through the past 10 years that one of the common things that I've found is that many, by the time that I'm hired or by the time that my team is hired, we realize that a certain approach is optimal for that particular business at that stage, right? But then when we suggest it, or when we bring it up with the client, they'll tell us, hey, you know what? I actually tried this when I first started. I actually tried this and this X way, and it didn't do anything for me, or X happened. So, and this actually happens a lot, and you even see it on movies. You may be watching a movie, or you may have just seen a movie, that you'll realize, well, just because that person tried it, how come now that this happened, why don't they just go back and try it again, right? Like in Home Alone, when the kid drops the buckets on the stairs, they run out of buckets, right? So what they think is they can't go up the stairs anymore. Then they try to go up the stairs, right? It's the same thing happen with other situations. They try to climb up a ladder, right? And then they get sticky, they get all this, something happens, and then they go try another route. Versus, well, everything already happened, I'm gonna go try it again. No, they always change it. They always change. So they try one thing, it fails, then they go try another. That fails, they go try another. They never go back to those doors. They never go back to that window. They never go back to that ladder. In business, this is very important because timing is a huge, huge factor. And so if you try something today and it fails miserably, maybe it will succeed in a month. It all depends on how you try it and whether you learn from it, you take notes, you pivot, or again, the market could just not be ready at during the first try. So the first try fallacy is this: just because you tried something last month, because you tried something last year, doesn't mean that it will not work. It will not work again, or it doesn't mean that it'll keep failing if you keep trying. You just have to continue to try. If you are a big believer in the 3 times the charm, then definitely you have to do the exact same thing 3 times in order for that to be true. If you're going after the 3 times the charm, but you keep changing every effort, then you're essentially starting all over each time you try. So think of that next time you're trying something for your business. Email the person, and if that email didn't get you a return from that, maybe that blogger, that news media, maybe that business partner you're hoping to get, that cross promotion company you're hoping to partner with, maybe try it with another company. Send the exact same email and just keep sending it. Just keep sending it, because what failed once, it doesn't mean that it will keep failing forever. So keep that in mind as you're growing your company. If you are in the phase where you are looking to hire a marketing company, I would ask you, obviously, that you reconsider. If you have hired somebody in the past and they failed miserably, I gotta let you know that 90% of all PR companies, 90% of marketing companies, 90% of any web design companies, they may do a good job, but a lot of it has to do with timing. And then you remember, I'm pretty sure you've seen that picture of 2 gold diggers, one on the bottom, one on the top, where one of them is almost there, close to the gold, and he gives up right at the very moment. When then somebody comes in with a fresh mind, new energy, and they just have that little inch that you facilitated to get to that, to get to those diamonds, that gold in underground. In business, is the exact same thing. You don't want to try only to give up and go do something else. You don't know when that one email will click and it will get open and it will get you a response. So keep sending and keep doing and keep trying, because in business, consistency and determination is how you get to succeed. Forget about all these articles, forget about motivational stories, forget about what the fuck does an entrepreneur do in the morning, how to save time during coffee, how to make the best of your mornings, how to manage your time, how to hack being published by bloggers, how to hack this, how to hack that. Just stick to the basics. Think about it like this: if you take the same approach that people had when we didn't have internet, when there was no social media, when there was no email, and you apply it with that same mentality, the same consistency, the same personality on video, on mail, on social media, on email marketing, on your website, you will have good results. And just because it doesn't kick in right away, you got to realize there's a lot of external factors that there will be the moment, especially if you're creating a lot of content, where all that content is going to just come in and explode because of good SEO, consistency, presence, branding, everything that comes into play. So my suggestion is don't give up, and stay tuned, because I will be making more videos shortly. Like I said, I haven't done any in a while, but I will be getting more to it lately. So if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. They can be anything regarding strategy, anything regarding business, regarding marketing, yeah, stay tuned. I will have a link somewhere here below so that you can subscribe and follow some links for some newsletter, and so you can join our community. Thank you so much. Bye.